What's up, everyone? Welcome in to the Denver Sports Podcast. It is all Denver Broncos today. We are live from the Toyota Lounge. It's the best place to be on this beautiful, beautiful morning. And we are getting set, getting all warmed up, getting the juices flowing for some Broncos playoffs. It's exciting. We got Hank, we got Spence, Christian Saez. We are not, the two of us are not your normal Broncos guys. He's a normal Bronco guy. But this is the show where we talk all things Denver sports. And of course, given that the Broncos are in the playoffs, hosting the Buffalo Bills, we have to talk about the Denver Broncos today. It's a good day. Welcome to the show.
Jake McCarthy?
Not Jake McCarthy today. Okay. Not the Colorado Rockies.
Check the Jake McCarthy talk out from the DNVR Rockies podcast.
Yeah, I'm halfway through it. I was listening on the way in.
I think we got to talk about some other things today.
I think Broncos is probably the move.
It is the move. Real quick, want to give a quick shout out to our upcoming events. We've got the tailgate popping off. Spencer, besides doing the Rocky show with me and also jumping on this show, being a diehard Broncos fan, you do our events. We got the tailgate popping off on Saturday. What's the details for that?
So if you go to thednvr.com, our website, under the events tab, it's the first thing that second thing that pops up. We have a Beer Olympics on Thursday. Pops right up, and then you can get tickets through that link. If you're a diehard, you save 20%. So there's a diehard code hidden in the link of the description of the event on the website. So make sure you're logged in. You can check it out. Use that diehard code. Save 20% off. It's going to be a banger. Our first ever DNVR Broncos playoff tailgate.
Yeah.
And I'm looking forward to it.
And are you doing the pregame?
Oh, yeah.
So you're going to be doing the pregame show with, I would assume, Benny, right?
Yep.
Nice.
Pregame show from the tailgate, which is sick.
A little college game day action with Hank, with Benny. RK, I'm sure, is going to be there.
Yep.
It's going to be a good time. Also, we're talking about pregame shows. This feels like the pre-show to the Broncos show, the official licensed Broncos show that comes right after this. So we're talking all things Broncos for pretty much the next 2 hours, starting here with the Denver Sports Podcast and then moving on to the Broncos show coming up at noon. But we got a lot to talk about today. So much to unpack, so much to get into. Broncos hosting the Buffalo Bills on Saturday, and a lot to get into. But I want to start by going back for a quick moment, because I think about 4 weeks ago or so, we did a show. It was RK, myself, and Spencer, where I asked the question, out of all of our Colorado sports teams, which one has the best chance at winning a championship between the Avs, the Nuggets, and the Broncos? Who has the best chance of winning a championship? And for context, this was before the Broncos had played the Chiefs, right? This was before they had beaten the Chiefs the first time. And so there were still a lot of questions what this team was going to look like, who they were. They had a good record, but there was still a lot to be learned from the Denver Broncos. And Spencer had a very interesting take on that show. And I want to start this show by playing Spencer's take, and then we can react to that. Alyssa, fire it up.
I'll actually kind of flip this pod upside down. And the more I think about it, the more I'm actually leaning towards the Denver Broncos. And
above everyone?
Yes, the Denver Broncos number one. And let me tell you why. Okay, the Broncos the one thing the Broncos don't have going for them in history, or as of the last 5 years, that the Nuggets and Avs do, is they haven't done it. So that kind of gives me a lot of pause. Like, Nikola Jokic knows how to win a title. He literally just did it. Nathan McKinnon and the Avs know how to win a title. They just did it. But let me talk you into the Denver Broncos, because if the Broncos make the playoffs, and let's say some things work out right in their next couple of weeks and they get the 1 seed, they have to win 3 games. Yep. That is it. The more I watch the NFL and the older I get, the more I realize, like, coaching does matter, especially in the NFL. And going into the playoffs, they get a bye. Let's say they get a bye week, and then teams come here to play in the playoffs, very tough. And Sean Payton just throws out these game plans that no one's ever seen and gets the offense cooking. They could win the Super Bowl. And not even mentioning, they have the best defense that we've ever seen. Like 2015, 2025 are pretty close, but any other city other than the 2015 Broncos, maybe the 85 Bears, like, this defense is that good.
So So we're going back 4 weeks. Again, remember, this was after the Broncos played the Raiders. They hadn't played the Chiefs yet, and this was assuming that they, beat the Chiefs, which they ended up doing.
8-2 at the time.
They were 8-2 at the time, which is good, but a lot was still up in the air. There was still a lot of variables that we hadn't figured out yet. And Spencer, you came on the show while we were sitting here saying, the Avs have the best chance, the Nuggets have the best chance, and those were pretty fair answers. And you said, no, the Denver Broncos are the ones to beat. They're the ones who are going to be in the Super Bowl. And now you're looking pretty good over there with that take.
And ironically, what happened after that pod is, Nikola Jokic goes down. The Avs lose Devon Taves. They lose Gabe Landeskog. So there's been some things that have happened. And I still very much believe in those two teams. And they'll be there at the end. I hope we have 3 parades. That's getting a little too greedy. Sure. I would place a bet that all 3 of the Denver teams right now are going to be in the big game or in the finals or in the Stanley Cup finals. So it's those 3 teams. I can't necessarily with confidence say that they're all going to win it, but I do believe that all 3 of those teams will be there. One of the last 2 teams standing, and then it kind of is up to chance and luck, especially in hockey. Are the Nuggets healthy? They're not right now. So the Broncos are relatively healthy. We'll get into there's a few injuries that I'm personally very concerned about this week and just going in the playoffs in general. But I think the Broncos having both games at home, you've heard the Sean Payton clips of telling the crowd how to react and how to act and how loud to be. We know we're going to be loud. It's going to be insane in there. And it's a revenge game. They went to Buffalo last year, and it's crazy to think that was a whole year ago when we packed the bar. Troy Franklin catches a 43-yard bomb for a touchdown to start the game, and I'm like, are we going to do this? And then we get boat raced.
Yeah.
Josh Allen makes ridiculous plays. That throw to the back of the end zone on 3rd down, Broncos dropping the ball. It just went downhill, but we had a little dopamine hit of it. And no matter what, Sean Payton also said that a myth is being there before. He is lying through his goddamn teeth.
And he says there's data.
I love Sean Payton. I really do. And is he an a-hole? Yes. But he's our a-hole, and we love him, and he's our coach. But the fact that they played that game last year and just got the same offensive line the Bills are rolling out last year, rolling out into Mile High this year, and we got demolished. They just ran right over us. And so I think there's something to be learned from that. There's also something to say that just the game being at home, I mean, home field advantage, you can tell, didn't matter for the Steelers and these other teams, but Denver's a different animal.
Yeah. And I think any of those teams that lost at home, I mean, the Panthers lose at home, and you're like, well,
they were 12-point underdogs.
And they kind of gave it a great run.
Yes, yeah.
They played a lot better than anybody could. I thought the same thing about the Steelers. They gave it a good run. The fact that there was a 1-point game in the 4th quarter with that Texans team was shocking to me. And that doesn't happen if it's in Houston on the turf. But yeah, you're totally right. That game got out of hand last year. There are plays that you go back to. That's typically how those sorts of games work. When you're the underdog, in football in particular, I think it's really easy just to look back at 3 turning point plays that blow the whole game up. The missed field goal as time expires at the end of the first half.
That would have tied the game, correct?
I believe it
yes.
10
would have tied it. Shortly thereafter, in the 3rd quarter, Broncos get the Bills to the 4th down, and Josh Allen scrambles and scrambles and scrambles for about 6 seconds, and then hits the running back in the back of the end zone.
That was a quarter of an inch from being out of bounds.
Right. And then probably 3 inches from PJ Locke getting a finger on it. And so then there's a touchdown swing on a 4th down. And you look at those 2 plays and you're like, there's 10 points.
Yeah.
You had a real chance. They could have gone down and tied the game up, I believe, or even taken the lead had they gotten that 4th down stop and just gotten the ball back. So I think that in that game last year, the Broncos kind of needed to find ways to keep it close. I think this year when you play at home, you don't have to go into this game as defensive. Your defense is out there attacking. You're not thinking we need to avoid getting Josh Allen. You're thinking we've got this crowd going. We've got the speakers on full blast. Let's go kick these guys' asses.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and Spencer, you pretty much talked about the X factor for the Broncos in this being Sean Payton, right? You talked about how important an NFL coach is, arguably compared to any other sport, the most important of any coach at a professional sport level. So it kind of brings up the question to me, what version of Sean Payton are we going to see on Saturday? We know Sean Payton, there's the uber aggressive Sean Payton. There's the more tactical Sean Payton. we know there's different versions of him, but like you said in that clip, Sean Payton's going to pull out all the stops. He's going to show up with probably some plays that we've never seen. Is this the over-aggression, or is this the over-aggressive Sean Payton that we see, or like what are you expecting?
I expect that there's going to be, I expect them to take the ball if they win the coin toss, which is crazy. It is. But Sean Payton, just the way he's coached in Super Bowls, the way he's coached in the playoffs, always been super aggressive. And I think you want to put your defense on the field first, fine. But I think if the Broncos came out in this game 2 weeks off, I'm a little worried about the rust, number one. Okay. I'm a little worried about that. I don't think, I'd rather them just automatically be in the divisional round and have the games at home. I'm not going to say that I wish they would have played last week. Gave me an extra week on my life, I would think, at the end of it. Yeah. But if they took the ball and came out and just went, down the field, pretty aggressive, throwing the ball, maybe trying to mix in the run a little bit. Sean Payton's probably going to have run it on his play card, huge, that everybody can see and that he's going to try to do and get away from it. But if they score a touchdown on that first drive, similar to like they did last year, but at home, I would bet my mortgage and life on the Broncos money line if they went down and scored a touchdown right off the bat. Yeah. Field goal, it's like, maybe I'd bet, just half my life on it. But I just think if they are aggressive and they say like just like last year, but in opposite, Bills were clearly the better team. The Broncos are clearly the better team. But once the Bills got scored on first and then they reacted. But once the game kind of went on, you're just like, oh, this is clear. They're wearing us down. They're better. Yeah. This year, I think the Broncos can do the opposite. They can say, hey, we're better. We're going to score. We're going to take the ball. We're going to score right away. And then we're going to just shut you down with our defense. And if they get a 3-and-out on the first drive, whether that's after a touchdown even more, or the Bills, punt it on their first drive, that place is going to be unbelievably loud.
I go the other way. I like it for a lot of reasons, but there's one reason why I say you kick the ball first, and that's because of the crowd. Like that crowd leading up to that kickoff is going to be insane. It'll be great throughout the day, but that first moment is going to be incredible. And if you just get to roll that straight into opposing offense on the field, it's going to be electric. But I like what you're saying. But I think
you do always seem to talk to me like I feel like I have a good point, and then you kind of talk. I'm
with
you.
Do I'm with Hank on this though. I also feel like, okay, if we go, I'll be cynical for a moment. Worst case scenario: Broncos win the toss. They choose to receive. Their offense goes 3-and-out on the first drive, and you give the football back to Buffalo, and Buffalo marches down the field and scores a touchdown or even kicks a field goal. Absolutely deflating. And then
full
you're
panic
behind.
Mode.
Yeah, full panic mode. Exactly.
I'm in full panic mode at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So I do think that I'm with Hank on this. Given the crowd, given the home field advantage, and how your defense is by far your best asset on the field, you give your defense the chance first if you win the coin toss.
It's interesting because I think a lot of it, there's so much that goes into any football game, playoff games in particular, but I think a playoff game against the Bills, maybe even more so, just because they're such a unique team.
Yeah.
Like their defense is not good. Their run game is pretty good, but got shut down last week. Josh Allen is just a freak though. And that makes it so much different. You're not just playing like a regular football game. You're playing against Josh Allen and like kind of an assortment of scrubs plus like a few other good players, which makes it super unique. And you almost have to start by saying, what do we want the Bills to do? It reminds me, Vance Joseph back in the day said, anytime the Chiefs run the ball, it's like a gift for us. And I wonder if you take that same mindset and say, you know what? We're just going to go a little bit light. We're going to play a lot more nickel. That way we can kind of match up against these tight ends pretty well with an extra corner. And we might be giving up 3-4 yards a carry, but we can make them run. The other option, though, is you say, what the Bills do at the end of games is just go to Josh Allen. They try to make it a game for the first 3 quarters. Then when push comes to shove, it's just give the ball to Josh Allen, let him go make plays, and he usually makes the plays. If the Broncos get an early lead, you force the Bills to go into that mode for 45 minutes. 45 minutes of football. And I'm not sure that that's sustainable, but it's a risky game to say like, okay, we're going to go out there and just try to turn this into a shootout because, again, it is Josh Allen, but I just don't think that you can play Josh Allen ball for 3 quarters of a game. Otherwise, they would do that more. They wouldn't just pull it out for the last 2 drives.
Well, and look, I mean, the reality is we were just talking about, being in panic mode depending on how the game starts. I think we have to look back on how this season has gone for the Broncos and the fact that they have been in situations, albeit not in the playoffs. I recognize that these, regular season is different than the playoffs, but where
Sean doesn't.
You would think, I know, where you would think though that we'd be panicking, that the Broncos would be panicking, and in the end, they've ended up coming back and winning those games. So I'm speaking this, I'm kind of manifesting this in my own emotional roller coaster. Don't panic, right? We got to keep things level headed. We know Bo and Sean Payton are going to keep things level headed, and we'll figure it out. But we got to take our first break of the show. We'll pause for a quick moment. After the break, are the Broncos the team to beat? How do the other teams in the NFL feel about the Denver Broncos? Do they really care? Do we really care? We'll talk about that coming up next. Well, I want to give a huge shout out right now to our friends at Raising Cane's, because make your chicken finger dreams come true. That is our slogan of the day for Raising Cane's. And I got to say, it's a little, we're getting close to lunchtime, and you just can't go wrong with Raising Cane's. That might be the place that I head to right after this show, because they have everything made fresh. That's the cool thing about Raising Cane's, is that everything is fresh, from their chicken tenders, their chicken fingers, their crinkle cut fries, their fresh made cane sauce, even their tea and their lemonade is squeezed fresh on site every single day. I came home the other day and I actually saw we had a gallon-size Raising Cane's sweet tea in our fridge. My father-in-law was the one who picked that up at the store. I didn't even realize Raising Cane's sold their tea in stores. So whether you're going into their locations, going through the drive-thru, or you're actually going inside a store, you can go pick up some Raising Cane's at your nearest location. So enjoy some good lunch, enjoy some good food whenever you want to with Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's chicken fingers, one love. Also want to give a huge shout out to our friends at Toyota. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR, and I cannot say enough good things about Toyota. I know it's been a very dry and non-snowy winter here in Colorado, but one of my favorite things about my Toyota, I drive the 2024 RAV4, is that it is such a good vehicle whenever that weather hits. Whenever there's some snow, there's some ice on the road, maybe it's rain. We've seen some rain here this winter, which has been a little crazy. Or, maybe you're getting up into the mountains. You got mud and different types of terrain. Well, my RAV4 can get it done no matter where I am. And it's not just the RAV4. Maybe it's the 4Runner. Maybe it's a truck like the Tacoma or the Tundra. I know Spencer has driven the Tundra. He's driven the Tacoma, and now he's jumped on board with the 4Runner. But no matter what option you decide to go with, Toyota, they are durable, they're affordable, and they are built to last. My Toyota Highlander that I had before I got this RAV4, 250,000 miles. It could have gone for another 250,000 miles, it felt like. So you can't go wrong with Toyota. Visit your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota and Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson's Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson's Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. Welcome back here on the Denver Sports Podcast, where we're talking the biggest and best sports topics in Colorado. Today, of course, talking about the Denver Broncos. And I asked the question, and it's the headline of the show. It's the title of this show. Are the Broncos the team to beat? Henry, you write about this team, you cover this team. Spence and I are merely fans. What are your thoughts on this? I know they're underdogs, technically, the Broncos.
They might not be now.
I know
it's
they were.
Been swinging back and forth.
Okay.
Depends on the sports book.
Yeah, exactly. So what are your thoughts on this? Are the Broncos considered the team to beat? I know it's subjective, but what are the takes around that?
So first of all, consensus odds right now, -110 both sides.
Just straight up
pick them. And by the end of the day, it'll be one side and then the other and then one side. Yeah, I mean, they're absolutely the favorites. I think they have to be the favorites because, first of all, you're playing at home. There's a lot of stats behind how important that is. 67% of home teams win in the playoffs. That means there's a 40% chance that you win back-to-back games. The Broncos have been the number one seed 8 times before this year. They've made it to the Super Bowl in 6 of those seasons. Home field advantage here is worth even more than your standard home field advantage. I think everything just kind of plays well for the Broncos, just the way the playoffs are set up. And then beyond that, one more thing on that. You also get the bye, of course. And there's the rust versus rest type conversation.
Which way do you go on that? Do you think rest is better or not so?
I think it depends, because I think you look at last year's game when the Broncos weren't as deep, and because of that, as one example, Zach Allen played 91% of the snaps last season. This year, he's down to 77%, not because he's been hurt or anything, but just because they made a concerted effort to keep him fresh. And he's not alone. There are a bunch of guys they're doing that with, in part because they have the depth. So they were beaten up last year. People forget that Bo Nix had a broken back when he played that playoff game.
Yeah.
And there were a bunch of those little nagging issues that I think made the job against the Bills even tougher last year. And it's totally reversed this year. You look at Josh Allen and the beating he took last week, going to medical tent twice. We got our first injury report yesterday from the Bills, and it
looked like a college novel that you had to write. Like every player's on that injury report.
They're all beat up, and with Josh Allen in particular, he was on there as limited with a foot injury, a knee injury, and a finger injury.
Yeah.
And so like that team is beat up, and I think in this particular case, especially after the way last year went, being the team that is rested and healthy and going up against the team that's all beat up feels like a good start. So those are the two advantages. And then in terms of, are they just the best team? I think they might be. I think it's them. I think the Patriots and Texans could give them a good run. CJ Stroud looks terrible. Drake May was fine. We'll see what Bo does. But I think if you want to tell me you have the Broncos third out of those three teams, just straight up power rankings, I'm not going to complain too much. I'd probably have them first, but I think that there's a real debate. So if it's a toss-up otherwise and you get home field, I like their chances.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I fall is I think if you look at the four teams left in the AFC, they all have their clear blemishes, if you will. The Broncos actually have probably, at this moment, the least of the blemishes, right?
Their
Bills' defense is really rough. I mean, yes, the Texans' defense is really good, but CJ Stroud, playing any other team other than the Steelers, they lose 30-6 instead of the other way around this past week. And then, of course, you've got the Patriots, who are similar to the Broncos in that second-year quarterback. They've got home field at least for one more game, and they have a solid defense, but nothing like the Broncos have. So the Broncos have the least amount of problems in all the AFC teams left, and I think home field is what pushes that way over. Like that makes them the team to beat. If the Broncos were the 3 seed, let's say, and they played last week and they beat, let's say not the Bills, let's say there was a different 6 seed, they're going into this weekend maybe going to New England, and let's say the Jaguars are the 1 seed. I think the Broncos are then at that point not, even with the same team, not the team to beat, but them being at home and being able to host 2 home playoff games pushes them to be like, all right, that is the best team with the most advantage on their end going into the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of the question for me is like, okay, if I'm a Buffalo fan, put myself in their shoes. First of all, that's
probably
miserable.
Boots.
Yeah, probably boots. You're right. Maybe some snow galoshes or something like that. But am I concerned more about the Broncos or my own flaws? Like you said, the injuries, right? And if I'm a Buffalo fan, I mean, obviously you have this confidence, you have this knowledge that your team can win. You wouldn't be a fan, if you didn't feel that way. We thought last year, we felt that the Broncos could win, despite recognizing that they were probably the less talented team on paper. But I think if I'm a Buffalo fan, I'm more concerned about injuries than I am about the team across from me. Yeah. And I think that's an advantage for the Broncos. Right. I think, like Bo constantly talks about, this is a team that's been overlooked. This is a team that's been, listed as the underdogs and just, kind of shoved to the side because of the style of play, because of the way in which they win games. And I think all of that is a huge advantage to the Denver Broncos.
I think so too. I think this all sets up perfectly. Again, home field advantage to me is just the big thing.
Yeah.
Again, there's all the stats. Broncos are 17-5 in the playoffs all time at home. They're 3-10 on the road. Like it's huge. You get the crowd, you get the extra rest. Not only are the Bills playing on 6 days instead of 7 days, Sunday to Sunday, they're Sunday to Saturday. They also they were Saturday.
No,
the Bills?
Yeah,
I thought the Bills were Sunday.
They were
Sunday.
I started second guessing myself.
Yeah, so
but
they
no,
have
you're good.
the shortest amount of rest.
You've been watching a lot of football recently.
No, I've watched so many damn Bills games. But yeah, so they have to fly back from Jacksonville Sunday just to be back in Buffalo for everything on Monday. And then I would imagine Thursday, they probably come out here to have an off day Friday. Maybe on a short week, you just come out Friday. I don't know. But you also have 2 travel days that are built in there when you're the road team. And then also, I mean, people think of Buffalo and the cold and the toughness. They play on turf. And getting that team in particular off of the turf and onto a grass surface, I think is also huge. I think when you're out there playing on turf, it's just so fast. Like the footing doesn't matter as much. Like it's just a different sort of game. And I think there's just so much that goes into playing on your field that is exactly how you want your field to be in front of your fans, where you always play. I think it's worth a touchdown in a game. I think what they usually say 2.5 points is what home field advantage is worth.
2.5 or 3.
I think it's a spare touchdown.
Yeah. Do you think, because Sean Payton, was it yesterday that he talked to the media and talked basically with his homework for the fans, kind of giving some guidelines on when to cheer, when to get loud, all of that kind of stuff. Do you like that he did that? It's kind of unconventional, a little micromanagey, but I know it rubbed some people the wrong way, but
it all
were you
matters.
a fan of that?
No, it really, it's huge to get those things right. And again, that's why
I agree.
They used to have the video of Payton on the scoreboard saying, when we're on offense, be quiet.
Yeah.
Like, I am telling you, be quiet. You have to do that. You coach the fans how you want them to handle the situation. I think that's big. I think all the in-game stuff is ultra important this week. As he said, no more like hide the ball behind the hat game.
Yeah.
Like you're not doing that
cracked
garbage.
me up.
Yeah.
Because now I'm at the games and I'm watching and seeing what they're.
Right.
He's like, no more. What was the other one? Meet this player or more info about this player. It's like no, just pure noise. Be as loud as you can. And I think
name as many Star Wars characters as you can.
Exactly.
Like, no, we're playing highlights from the drive, getting people fired up with some rock and roll music behind it too.
I love that.
Like it's a different energy.
Look, man, the best leaders, they micromanage. You brought up Peyton Manning. He's another prime example of that. The guys who are most successful micromanage the situation. And, again, it's going to rub some people the wrong way, but I do think there's no way that Broncos fans, us and you guys watching at home, didn't get that message. If you guys are going to the game on Saturday and you hear your coach saying, hey, I need you guys to like be a part of this team, right? I mean, I go back to, not to make this comparison, but like Seattle did this same thing with the 12th man, right? They made the crowd a part of the team, and it became like this chip on your shoulder, this pride piece of like, hey, we have just as much of an important role to play as the players who are out on the field, because we know we can change the trajectory of games when we get loud and teams on defense, all that kind of stuff. And so I think Sean Payton, good on him, man. He's doing the exact same thing. He's saying, hey, we can use this incredible fan base that we have behind us, one of the best, if not the best in the NFL, to help us win games. So why not?
Yeah, starving for 10 years for playoff football.
Yeah.
And they're ready, at home, I should say, and ready to roll. And I think that the Broncos they have to be super prepared. Obviously, that's like a very John Madden take, but they can't take anything for granted. And I honestly think the more this Buffalo injury report gets played out, I think it's actually worse for the Broncos. I think there's a lot of people that are like, the more Buffalo gets put into that, we have no chance to win, which there's nobody that's really saying that. But the scarier it is. I tweeted this last night. If any of you guys remember back to 2017, the Broncos were 2-3. They had Trevor Siemian. It's after the Super Bowl, whatever. And the New York Giants came to Denver. It was either Sunday night game or a Monday night game. They were 0-5. They had no receivers. I looked at the box score last night. Evan Ingram, ironically, had 5 catches for 88 yards and a touchdown. The Broncos lost by 2 touchdowns at home to a Giants team that had no receivers. The box score is like Ingram had 5 catches, a running back had a catch, a random receiver that played 2 games in the NFL had a catch, and the Broncos lost. And I'm not saying that this is the same team, but it's just like, I don't want them to have that feeling. And in the building, and I think that's why Sean Payton's being Sean Payton and being like, I don't give a shit if this is you're playing the Buffalo Bills that won, or the Chiefs last year that won 15 games, or the Buffalo Bills that are extremely hurt. Like, you have to take this so seriously, because Sean's ass is a little bit on the line. Like, I think, playoffs in general, you want to win games, you want to win Super Bowls. That's the goal of being a coach. But 2 years in, if disaster mode happens and you lose this game, it's like, we couldn't have set ourselves up any better than we did. Yeah. And then next year, everything resets and it kind of opens back up. So you're here, use this moment right now and take this chance and like do it.
Right.
Go all in. Be aggressive. Do all the stuff that you need to do.
Football isn't like a slow build over multiple season sport. It's like we're here and we've got our chance. You got to take advantage. I think the past decade, 9 of the 20 number 1 seeds have missed the playoffs the next year, which is crazy to think about, to go from number 1 to not even in it about half the time. But again, like that's why I kind of agree. Like nobody needs this to be said, but it's a big game. Like you go win this one, you're in the AFC Championship game at home. You got a chance to win and go to the Super Bowl. Like these opportunities, we know what it's like. It's been a decade since the last time we had an opportunity like this. So yeah, it's huge. I don't think they'll take the Bills lightly because of the injury. I think more likely is they say, priority number 1 on defense, kick Josh Allen's ass. Like get in the backfield and put him on the ground.
And actually put him on the ground. That's the thing.
And over.
That's the thing that scares me a little bit, because the Broncos defense, we know, has the ability to get to the pass rush or to get to the quarterback and pressure. Pressure is a stat now, and they have 1 million of them. Zach Allen has 1 million of them, but it does you no good. Just rewind the tape to last year with Josh Allen. They had him scrambling around, running around. You don't put him on the ground and he's going to beat you. Doesn't matter if he's throwing to a bunch of high school kids or, they still have 2 very good tight ends. Like they have to put him on the ground or at least, tip some balls, whatever they can do. Because he's not somebody to mess with. He's the best quarterback left in the AFC by a wide margin.
Yeah. Yep. I know. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun to watch. We got to pause for our next break. After the break, there is a narrative that I would like to discuss that I think if the Broncos can win on Saturday, that I think we finally put this narrative to bed. We'll talk about that coming up in just a moment. Well, I want to give a quick plug to some of our upcoming events right now, because not only do we have an incredible tailgate, but we've got some other stuff happening around our DNVR space as well. Saturday is a very busy day for Colorado sports fans, especially people here at DNVR, because we have that tailgate. I think I saw someone earlier in the chat said they bought their tickets literally on the show. So congrats. You're going to have a great time on Saturday at the tailgate. If you haven't gotten those tickets already, maybe you're jumping into the show late, be sure to head over to thednvr.com/events to pick up the tickets for the tailgate. It's going to be an incredible time. Live music, food. It's going to be a pregame show with Hank and RK and Benny and all the guys, and then you guys get to go hang out and watch the game. But also we've got the takeover, the Nuggets takeover happening on Saturday as well. So maybe you want to have a full day of Colorado sports. You go Broncos straight into Nuggets. It's an elite day.
Yeah, it's if the Broncos win and then you go to a Nuggets game, our Nuggets takeover's in the suite. So you get free food, free drinks at that. That's as good of a Denver sports day as you're going to get.
I was going to say, that has a chance to be one of the best sports days you've ever had in your life. I mean,
easily.
Top 5 at
100%.
least. So head over to thednvr.com/events to look up all the good stuff that we have. Of course, we have a watch party that's going to be happening down here at the bar. What are your plans for the Broncos game? Are you doing the watch along? What are you doing?
Yep. So we're still, I think, working through the details of the pregame show, potentially like extended pregame show. We'll be out at the tailgate for that. Come back here for the watch along, and then we'll have a postgame show. Some talk of potentially an extended postgame show, a double postgame show, a triple postgame show.
Lots of shows.
If all goes well. But we'll kind of play it by ear and see what's going on. But it'll be a long day.
It'll be a long day. It'll be a really fun day. It'll be a really fun day. So yeah, don't miss any of the action on Saturday. I know you guys are going to be locked in, but be sure you tune in here at DNVR. We'll get you guys covered all weekend long. But I brought up before the break, there's a narrative that we've heard, and maybe the narrative's grown a little bit quieter over time, but we all acknowledge that Josh Allen is an elite quarterback in the NFL. So it brings up the question to me. If the Broncos beat the Bills on Saturday, does that mean we can finally move on from the narrative of not drafting Josh Allen? Can we move on from that officially? Can we finally put the pin in it?
It's tough for me because I have moved on.
Yeah.
So it's tough for me to say now. Like everybody else will or won't. I don't know. This goes back to people can say what they want. People sometimes, like if everybody hates Bo Nix, if every national media member hates Bo Nix, if every fan of every fan base isn't a Bronco hates Bo Nix, I don't care. You can hate him all he wants. All I care about is if you win. And so like the Josh Allen thing, those will never, It will never go away.
Okay,
Like,
so you're saying the
I
noise
think
is just noise.
because there will always be some group that will always it will never totally be extinguished.
Sure.
But yeah, I think it'd be a step. It'd feel good to some people, the people who still care about that. I think the fact I think it's the Wyoming fans that cross over. They're probably the reason that will never die. They will be the loudest forever, saying he was right up the street. My favorite team could have had my college's quarterback. It would have been perfect. Yeah, I don't think it ever dies.
You always play the what if game until your what if becomes bigger than someone else's. And right now, if the Broncos beat the Bills, no matter how banged up the Bills are, no matter how fraudulent of a team the Denver Broncos appear to be to other fan bases, our what if is bigger than theirs.
Yeah, it's fun to look back and think what the Broncos could have been the past 4 or 5 years with Josh Allen, or 8 years, however long it's been since he's been in the NFL. But the reality of the situation is the Broncos were kind of just, it doesn't feel as bad in the moment, but looking back now and saying, okay, last year we made the playoffs. Now we're the number 1 seed in the AFC, kind of a meteoric rise after Sean Payton comes in. They do the whole Russell Wilson thing. We get new ownership. Like, there's so many things that have happened that it almost makes it comical how bad they were the last 10 years, which kind of got, not to get us off on another track, kind of got me thinking, would you rather be in the position, Broncos and Bills are playing today with the exact same stakes on the line against each other. Would you rather been in the position that the Broncos are in and have been, let's say, since 2015, a decade? They won one Super Bowl, been complete trash, going through coaches, ownership change, going through, cycling through players. I think we have like 2 or 3 players on this roster that have been around since the Vic Fangio era, which is not that long ago. Or would you be the Bills, who are, you have Josh Allen, you have this all-world quarterback, one of the best players in the league, and you're in the playoffs every year, and you have a chance to win the Super Bowl every year, but you can't get it done. Like, where would you rather be? Because as much as the last 10 years have sucked, I think if the Broncos win the Super Bowl this year, give me another 10 years of shit for all I care. Like, you actually have to, once you win it for me, you get a goodwill period.
Yeah.
And it's better than,
that's why we have no goodwill with the Rockies.
Yeah, exactly. And it's better than where the Nuggets have been up until they won a title. It was like, they're really good, but what are they actually going to win a title, or are they just going to be really good for the next 10 years and then cycle through the, new roster, new coaches, new players? And like, I would much rather be where the Broncos are at right now, as much as the last 10 years sucked, because without winning it all, to me, especially in Denver, with the history of the Broncos, the history of the Avalanche winning it all a couple of times before, as we're growing up, you have to win it all in order to be the team. And I think that like Eagles fans right now, I don't care. You won the Super Bowl last year. It sucks to lose to the Niners at home and lose a home playoff game, but we won the Super Bowl last year. You got 3 to 4 years of like, all right, we're going to lose players, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. But the Bills are like, okay, we're gaining players. Then we won this game. Then we won this game. Then we got to we lost to Patrick Mahomes again. Like, it's a weird dynamic, but I'd much rather be where the Broncos are at.
Yeah, to me, the Bills window is just closing. Like, you can't pay quarterbacks that much money and have a chance. Like, the only 2 quarterbacks who've ever been able to do it while making whatever 12.5% of the salary cap are Patrick Mahomes and Tom Brady. You have to be the best of the best. And I mean, Josh Allen, very good. But the fact that he hasn't gotten over that hump yet is a really bad sign, because like, you look through the teams that are giving out massive cap hits this season. So number 1, Dak Prescott, biggest cap hit in the NFL. How'd those Cowboys look? Little top heavy, maybe? A
little bit.
Maybe it looked like a little depth could have helped him out. Didn't make the playoffs. Number 2 is Matthew Stafford, good player. Number 3, Joe Burrow. Little depth would have helped you there. Maybe you could have made the playoffs. Lamar Jackson, number 4.
But yeah.
Lamar Jackson misses the playoffs. Kyler Murray, 5, misses the playoffs. Number 6, Geno, misses the playoffs. Kirk Cousins, 7, misses the playoffs with the Falcons. Tua, number 8, missed the playoffs. Raiders again with Max Crosby. Then you get down to Justin Herbert, number 10, Josh Allen, number 11. But you go through all these, like, the teams that are giving out these massive contracts. The Chiefs, like, it's just not a way to sustain success, but you get why teams do it. Like, you can't just say, we've got Tua is the best example. We've got Tua Tagovailoa. We're supposed to just let him walk and replace it. But I think that's why right now for the Broncos, when you have a few more years of cheap Bo Nix, that's why now is the time, because it only gets harder as time goes on.
Yeah, and look, man, if I'm a Bills fan, if you're following the Bills, it's now or never. It feels like it, right? Because you have your two dark horses, your kryptonite, Patrick Mahomes, You've got the Chiefs. Maybe you could throw the Ravens in there as well. Maybe the Eagles. You kind of throw those top 3 teams. Those guys aren't in your way anymore. You don't have to worry about getting through those 3 big juggernaut teams that have been there in your way in the past. And if I'm the Bills, I'm looking at this, injuries aside and whatever, and saying, this is it. This is my chance, right? I theoretically, on paper, have the best path from that perspective of getting to the Super Bowl. And so I do think there's a lot of people out there who think that, hey, if the Bills can get through the Broncos, they're the team of destiny, right? We've heard that term get tossed around. The Bills are the team of destiny. They got the win on the road, the infamous win on the road that they were struggling to get for years. They were able to get that against the Jags. And now they got to go get a win against the Broncos. And then it feels like things open up a little bit more. And I heard someone say to me the other day, they said, whoever wins this game between the Broncos and the Bills, they believe goes to the Super Bowl. Is that a fair assessment, Spencer? Do you think that's fair?
Yeah, I think it's completely fair because the Texans and the Patriots, while an interesting game, I still think the Patriots win that game. And maybe this isn't a hot take. I might have to sit on this in a little bit. The Patriots are not coming to Denver with Drake May and beating the Broncos. I'm sorry, they're not. Like this is honestly the test the Broncos have this weekend is the toughest test they would have had in the potential rest of the AFC. Houston coming here, New England coming here potentially next week, or Buffalo coming here. I think having Josh Allen in the playoffs changes everything for those teams. And yes, over a long regular season, they lost some crazy bad games and they ended up not even winning their own division. But I think the Broncos, this is their toughest test. And looking back on like this kind of Broncos core, which is basically just 2 years now with Bo Nix, they haven't played a big game yet. They've played big games in week 12, whether it was big at the time, right? But both games that mattered to them, making the playoffs last year against the Chargers or Chiefs at home, week 18, they blow them out 38-0. Nobody plays. This year, you're playing for the 1 seed against the Chargers. Nobody plays. So it's going to be a very interesting test case. And yes, the playoff game in Buffalo was big for them last year, but it was big in the aspect of you finally made the playoffs after 9 years of not making it. Let's go in there and like push our chips all in and see what happens. It wasn't like nobody was sitting out there, unless you're completely delusional and saying the Broncos should beat the Bills in Buffalo. So this will be the real big first test for this Broncos core. And, some of the guys that have been around for a long time, the Garrett Bowles, those guys that have been around for a while know what it's like to lose. And now they're feeling the taste of winning. But if you don't actually win the big games that matter, that's kind of all for naught. Winning 14 games, getting home field advantage is all for naught, obviously, if you lose this weekend.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's the playoffs. Like it really, it all comes and goes so quickly that when you have an opportunity like this, you got to take advantage. And you just can't do things like the Jags did. Like the Jags just played bad football. And you credit the Bills because they did go and win that game. But Trevor Lawrence throwing 2 picks, you just can't have that. Like you can't have it, especially both of them. But the second one, like you got a chance to drive down the field, send it to overtime, and first play or just other team. Those are the plays that define careers. Like when you look back on Trevor Lawrence, there's a chance that you look back and say like, oh, this was the best team that he was a part of. And how did that end? He threw that pick. And why were they in the game? Well, because they gave him 3 points right off the bat when their offense was struggling with another interception. So it's tough to know that these plays, every play is so important and not play tight or conservative. But it's crazy. It's going to be so much fun to see every single play be the most important play that the Broncos have had in, I don't know, a decade probably.
Have you on the edge of your seat for every single play? No, I agree. It's funny that
Mackenzie Blackwood back.
Yeah,
that's good news.
There you
Love
go.
that.
Yeah, love that. I don't know, a little side topic.
Yeah, side note.
That was a very squirrel moment for you there, but it's all right. We'll keep going. We'll keep going. No, I do think it's funny that Sean Payton, gave suggestions to the fans of like, get loud, because I think while I think that will help, it definitely funnel that a little bit more. Mile High is still going to be the loudest place, in the general region come Saturday. So,
maybe
I'm excited to see
it.
Maybe even the world. You never know. We're going to pause for our last break. After the break, let's talk some early keys to the game. And I want to ask the question, how many points do you guys think the Broncos need to score to get the W on Saturday. We'll talk about that after this quick pause. All right. Back here on the Denver Sports Podcast, doing a little pre-Denver Broncos show before you guys kick off your show at noon.
Yep.
So we're talking all things Broncos today, and so we'll do kind of this little early keys to the game situation here. But I want to start by asking, how many points do you think the Broncos need to score? We know the Bills can score. Their offense hasn't really been the issue for them. What's the situation? How many points do you think the Broncos need to score to get the W on Saturday?
I don't see the Bills getting to 20. I think if I had to guess, I'd say score like 13, 16, somewhere in there.
Okay.
So you tell me the Broncos score 17. I'd say better than a toss-up. You get into the 20s, I feel really good.
Really? Okay.
I think it's 23.
Yeah,
Okay.
I was going to go a little higher too.
I think the Bills get 20. 20 sounds like a good 2 touchdowns, 2 field goals. Like the one thing that's nice about playing the Bills this week is their defense is not going to have a pick six on you. Their defense is not going to strip sack you, turn it over. Like Bo Nix has been very good in his career, and that's why one of the reasons Payton loves him. Bo Nix has been very good at avoiding sacks and avoiding. He does throw some picks, but
Everybody.
The Broncos, if they play smart football and make the Bills go 80 to 85 yards and don't turn it over, I think you're not allowing more than 2 actual touchdowns from that Bills offense and maybe a couple of field goals. In Mile High, you can kick it a little further. You get, they get to the 35, 40-ish, they can kick a field goal. But I think 23 points wins you the game for sure.
Yeah. I just think, you can't play the field goal game. And we've seen that happen in the past. But I'm with Spencer on this. I do think, I think it's the playoffs. The Bills are going to be pulling out all the stops. Broncos are going to be pulling out all the stops. I think the scoring will be a little higher than we think. I do think, there's going to be some additional offensive output, even with how good the Broncos defense is. But I also think the Broncos offense is going to take a step up. We saw what happened last year, albeit just on the first drive of the game. But Bo Nix is going to show up ready to go. I don't think there's going to be a hangover. And I understand that the bye week can be a concern for some people, but I really don't think there's going to be a hangover. This team knows what they need to do. They know what needs to happen. They know what's against them. And I think both the offense and the defense, I think everyone's going to show up ready to go.
And the other thing, like, I know I did say the Broncos haven't played in any really big games yet as the core, which is semi-true, but they played a lot of close games. And while everybody wants to bash that and say that it's not good and you're not that good of a team and you're a fraud team because you played a lot of close games, now that the whole thing is essentially reset at the playoffs and your point differential in the season doesn't matter, none of that matters, I think it's going to help the Broncos a ton, who haven't been to the playoffs year after year after year and know what these playoff games are like. As close as you can get as big regular season games for this team, and they've played a lot of close ones, albeit not to our happiness. It's not fun to play the Raiders and win by 3. It's not fun to beat the Chargers by a nominal amount when they're not playing Herbert at last week of the season when everything's on the line for you. But I do think that there is some sense of, like, if the Broncos get in a close game, I feel great about it. Yeah. And I didn't, even at the beginning of this year, I didn't know what to think. And then they go and they somehow beat Philly on the road. And then they've had these other wins where it's like they've kind of been down. The Giants game was insane. Like, yes, it's the Giants, but still to score 33 points in a quarter, insane. So I do believe, like, I don't want to get to the point where in the third and fourth quarter, I'm like, oh, we need to come back. But I will have a little bit more faith that they can. And I think if Sean Payton plays it a little conservatively, hopefully he gets to a point where he's like, okay, we're kicking this into gear and we're going kind of all out earlier than he normally would for like a regular season game. Or there was points like that Raiders game on Thursday night this year, he never got there. He was like, I'm happy to win 10-7, which it was scary in the time, but I think that'll make the Broncos more hardened and better for it when it gets down to nut cutting time
and
at the
confidence.
end of the fourth quarter this year in the playoffs.
Yeah. No, I think what you're not going to see from them is the interception on the potential game-winning drive on the first play. Like, Bo Nix is not pulling a Trevor Lawrence like that because they've done this so many times. Like, it's not a team that just caves and rolls over like that Jags team does and has for decades, which is kind of crazy to think about. But, I mean, that's culture. Like, the Broncos are just so comfortable in those situations. It's where they're at their best. So I agree. I think they're just so battle tested and ready, and they've won so many different ways against all sorts of different teams. I don't know.
They feel well-rounded.
Right.
They feel well-rounded. Yeah.
And I think they can just go beat the hell out of Josh Allen, who is not going to be himself. Like, he's not going to be fast.
I had a buddy of mine say, the real game starts with 5 minutes left in the fourth, right? And that goes back to Spencer's point of it's this Broncos team knows how to win in the trenches, and they've shown if there's one thing that you can take away from this entire season, it's that this team wins in the trenches. Their defense keeps them in games, and their offense has been clutch. I mean, the complete opposite of the Nuggets, right? Their offense has been clutch enough to be able to go and win those close games. Look, I don't care how you win. If your defense keeps you in this game, this is the playoffs. If your defense keeps you in this game and gives the offense a chance to win it, I'm taking Bo Nix 10 out of 10 times.
Yeah, if the Broncos play the Bills exactly like Jacksonville did a week ago, and Bo Nix has the ball with 2-ish minutes left and down 3, the Broncos are at least tying that game, potentially winning that game. It's just a different story. Automatic. And everybody's, all these Jags fans out here. And yes, they came in and beat the holy hell out of us a couple weeks ago, which I actually think was good for the Broncos too.
I agree.
They came in, they blew us out. Everybody, they ran the small market thing. And then they got fucking trounced.
Which I saw you like that on
small
Twitter.
market, small dreams. Like it pissed me off because yes, they came in here and beat our ass, but even everybody going into all the other talking heads out there going into the playoffs. Oh, Jacksonville look at their point differential. Look at how bad they've been beating teams. You get in the playoffs, you get in a tight game, you go against a quarterback that's won playoff games before and has been here before. And what happens? Your guy, I love Trevor Lawrence and I like Liam Cohen. I think they've had a great year and they're fun. They weren't fun to play against. They beat the shit out of us, but they crumbled. First, they didn't even get a first down. The first pick is intercepted because they haven't been there and they didn't know what they were doing. And while the Bills defense and everybody's going to shit on it all week and say, oh, it's this bad. Like the Broncos offense isn't that great either. So it's kind of a weakness on weakness and a strength on strength on the field on Saturday actually. And I think the Broncos have a chance. If they have a chance to win it at the end, there's something to, it's a different quarterback, different team, but there's something to Mile High Magic, and that stadium's seen a lot of great comebacks and great wins, and I think Bo Nix, he could look completely pedestrian for 3 quarters, and I still believe that he'll have it in him. If they have a shot to win the game at the end, I would take him.
Yeah, fair. I want to get to a question here in the Toyota chat. Blake says, "How do you feel about the O-line having a big weight advantage against the Broncos D-line?" And the reason I want to call this one out is because I've actually thought about this. So you've been scouting the Bills for probably way too long into the night. What are your thoughts on this?
So there are essentially 2 ways that teams kind of build their defensive front. The first is you just get a really big nose tackle and say, okay, he's going to clog up both of these 2 lanes, and he's just going to be so big that he's not going to get pushed back, and it's going to free up the linebackers just to kind of flow where the play goes and read things and get to
Terrence Knighton. That's an old pull for the Broncos. That's what they did. That's why they made the Super Bowl in 13.
The way that the Broncos play is more of an attacking defense, like a one-gap defense, where the idea is, okay, they say we're gapped out. So let's just start for the A gap. Okay, Zach Allen, you've got this gap. Nobody gets through this gap. DJ Jones, you've got the other A gap. Nobody gets through this gap. Linebacker, you get this B gap. Nobody gets through. And so you go all the way down and say, okay, we have somebody accounting for each gap. So as long as everybody does their job, nobody gets through. Your assignment is easy. The reason the Broncos defensive front is lighter is because that's the style of defense that they run, the one gap system. And so the idea isn't we're going to be so big that you can't move us. The idea is we are fast and we get downhill and we get into our lanes. And so we're just trying to outquick you. Yeah. You can be really big, but that's not the point. Your goal isn't to not get pushed. Your goal is to get into your gap and make the play.
Yeah, I remember after the playoff game last year, I'm good friends with obviously one of the Broncos, and we talked about the game and after everything, and he was, crushed because that was their first time in the playoffs, and he's been here a long time. And I just remember the one thing he said was he was looking at their offensive line, it was the Monstars. They're I think the smallest guy is 3'10". Oh, yeah. And they're all 6'5". I mean, they're Spencer Brown. It just looks like a cyborg. They're scary.
Osiris Torrance.
Yeah.
When he
weighs
pushed DJ
342, I think.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's absurd how big their offensive line is. But like Hank said, and Hank, watched a ton of film, I think you don't have to have the big guys, but between Zach Allen and DJ Jones, they're going to be huge for freeing up Singleton, freeing up Greenlaw, freeing up Sternad. to make tackles on the run game, because if Cook quickly gets past them, I mean, Cook, they have the best rushing offense in the league.
Yeah.
Yep.
They could easily just run it all over you. So it's key. And I think one of the things that I kind of alluded to this earlier, one of the things that scares me about this game a little bit is it was announced yesterday, or Sean Payton said yesterday, where they're not getting Brandon Jones back. And while I do think PJ Locke is a capable defender, I think what I saw from, and you watched a ton of film, so maybe you can confirm this. What I saw from the Broncos after they lost Brandon Jones was they went to a little bit more of Hufanga being the guy in the back. And I don't like that.
Yep.
Against the run, Hufanga needs to be in the box.
Right.
And that's how they stop the run. I mean, how many... He probably has 3 or 4 tackles for loss this year, and maybe even more, where he's coming off the edge and unblocked because he's in the box and he makes the tackle behind the line. When you have to send Hufanga 20 yards back because you don't want to get beat deep and PJ Locke's the guy that's in the box, I don't feel as great about that. So that's a little bit of a concern for me. And the fact that like having this bye week was great, advancing to the divisional round, great. But the Broncos didn't really get, Greenlaw is back and healthy, but I mean, Justin Cernat's played great this year. I think it'd be silly to take him out of the lineup just for 100% of the snaps. Like maybe him and Greenlaw in and out, like they figure out, get a rhythm. One of them plays really well. But the Broncos didn't get anyone back from this bye week that they essentially could have or would have been a huge boost. The J.K. Dobbins, Luke Wattenberg, I'm not as worried about, but Brandon Jones as well. Like those are the 3 guys. And the Broncos have been very healthy this year. Like we're complaining about minor injuries. Bills fans, we've seen some in the chat. Like I'm not going to complain about injuries to you. But there's a few positions where it does make me pause a little bit and worry, because Brandon Jones has been a huge part of this defense for now 2 years and allows Hufanga to be so much more free.
Right. That is true. It lets Hufanga just be like his own roam free, do whatever you want to do. The reason it didn't work last year, though, was the linebackers. And particularly Cody Barton just kind of, he wasn't getting up into his gap. And so then you get guys sealed off. And so then he doesn't have the angle. And that's different. Like you have Singleton back. And while the other linebacker last year was Justin Sternad, and this year, a lot of the game, it's still going to be Justin Sternad. Those are 2 very different players. Like last year, Justin Sternad was like, he looks like he could probably start for a team. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he follows whoever to go, like, could he be a Panther?
The Panthers. That deal was basically done.
Exactly.
This offseason.
It's like, he's probably good enough to start for the Panthers, which is very different than like, he's been every bit as good as Dre Greenlaw this year. And so the idea that now it's that Justin Sternad with that Singleton, that's where all of a sudden you start to see the penetration, the gaps. It wasn't the defensive line getting pushed so much as it was the linebackers not being able to go make those plays. And then you throw Greenlaw into the mix, and then we'll see what they do with Hufanga. It's risky to play him up close because it does leave you open deep. But you have more pieces at the second level, and that's where they've been so big. Because Hufanga's big skill, yes, he can get in the backfield, but you also just never give up like a 9-yard run when you have Talon Hufanga, because he gets downhill so quickly.
Yep.
It's like,
what do you know about getting downhill, Henry?
What do I know? What do I know?
Let's not talk about getting downhill in this city.
I wound up watching
trigger word.
I was like, I wonder if somebody can just break down like on YouTube, like what is the right way to like rush downhill, charge downhill, whatever the phrase was. And I was like, I watched some like crazy high school coach explain. I was like, this isn't gonna do it.
Yeah,
I don't have the retort if it ever comes up.
I know. All right, we've got about a minute and a half left, so we got to wrap this up. But Hank, I wanted to ask you first. I'm gonna have 2 different questions for each of you. Hank, keys to success for the Broncos. What do you have?
You just got hit Josh Allen.
Okay.
And hopefully it's sacks. Hopefully it's strip sacks. But if you just put him on his back, I don't know, 5 times in the first quarter, the way his body is at this moment breaking down, it's going to make the rest of the game so much easier. Like this is a beat up Josh Allen. I think maybe I'll go run the ball. It's either stop the run or run the ball. I'll go run the ball because I'm pretty confident they do stop the run. Like the Bills' run game looked awful this week, and the Broncos, I think, have the best run defense in the NFL. So you go from, and I know statistically, I think it actually would be the Jags.
Yeah.
I think the Broncos technically are second, but they're second because
Close enough.
Jonathan Taylor had the big game in September. And if you take that away, then all of a sudden the Broncos are the best by the numbers and by just watching football. So I'll say they need to be able to run the ball. If they can run the ball, I trust that they'll be able to stop the run. And so you just hit Josh Allen and you're in good shape.
Okay. And then Spencer, question for you, since you're our big prediction guy, since your hot take ended up being probably the most accurate, what's your prediction for Saturday's game? Score prediction?
Broncos 23, Bills 20.
Okay.
And it's going to end not on a Will Lutz game-winning field goal. I can't physically take that because where my seats are right behind, you know, if it's going to the north end, I watched the Will Lutz game-winning field goal against the Chiefs, and it was like right at me. I can't, because I'll be the first one to know, or, you know, I'm in that line of where I can tell immediately.
You'll know before all of us.
You know, it's not like the people on the side that are looking up or down. But I think it ends with Josh Allen on the field, and the Broncos D comes up big one last time to get a stop. And I think the Broncos will be up in this one. I want to say I think they'll be up like 13-7 at half and feeling pretty good. Then they get into Josh Allen mode of like, all right, we can't really wait any longer. We have to go full bore. And I think Josh Allen probably has 40 or 50 yards rushing. He may outrush Cook at some point. I think they'll just give up on the run, but I feel really confident in the Broncos' three corners, whether it's McMillan, Barron, Moss, and obviously Surtain. Their three healthy wide receivers shouldn't be just running free.
Yeah.
It's the tight ends that I'm a little worried about, and it's Josh Allen getting out of the pocket.
Yeah, I love it. All right, so much to unpack. And the cool thing is, in about 14 minutes, we have the DNVR Broncos show popping off here, just a studio over from where we are today. So be sure, get a snack, go to take a bathroom break. 10 minutes from now, go watch Hank, Zach, and the fellas doing their DNVR Broncos show. This is fun. I'm glad you guys were able to stop by. Thank you guys for enjoying and engaging with us in the chat. We'll see you guys next week. This has been the Denver Sports Podcast.
We all silly like the man.